Hello everybody out there in the internet and comic book world, and welcome back to another Dark Avenger Comic Book review. On time this week, thank you Lord. And also just letting you guys know, thank you guys so much. I got a couple of messages about Hurricane Sandy. If myself and Mike end up not uploading anything between the days of Wednesday and I'm going to say Thursday to be safe, because there's a warning that there are going to be power outages. It's due to a power outage, so as soon as our power comes back on, you guys know the videos are coming straight to you guys. I'm making sure, that's why I actually wanted to do this review tonight, make sure it's up by tomorrow, so if the power, by some act of God, please God, let's hope that it doesn't come to this, but if it does, at least the comic review for you guys on this channel will be up, and as soon as we get power back, we'll be working on Dark Avenger Inc.
Everything's closed though, due to this event.
Yeah, so I'm sure though, guys, between Mike, Audrey Craig, and Kat, they'll be filling in the gap while we're absent. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but gotta work out every single what's the word I'm looking for? Possibility. You gotta go through every single scenario and every single possibility, and should this happen, I'm sure everybody on Ink will cover for us until we get back, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later. Yes. And we are officially 44 more comic reviews until the big 200. Mike gave me the idea for doing the triangle numbers like they used to do in the Superman comics back in the 90s.
I was saying the triangle for 44, but that works. But I was intending for that too.
I like it, so we're going to count down this way with the triangle over the number from now on.
See, aren't I always a great help?
But you didn't say this. You said another thing, and I took it up a different way.
Yeah, but it's a triangle.
You shut up.
What? It's pointy sides, you know.
Also, this coming weekend, expect an Avenger log. I got the list of books that I'm going to be moving from my comic review over to Dark Avenger Inc. Plus a couple of other things that are going to be, unfortunately, at least until YouTube fixes itself, there's a few other things that I'm going to have to change up on this channel. But we'll get to that in a bit. So let's get into the books this week, which I forgot to put in the correct order. I have them backwards, so give me a second here.
These came out the week of October 24th, 2012. I have two comics this week that I am going to do an in-depth review on, so my review is going to be like I'm going to review the book, but it'll be more in-depth on Dark Avenger Inc., so you guys will stay tuned for that. And
yeah, next time remind me to make sure that I put my pile backwards, because I had it from the #1 book to the last favorite book. Yeah. No indie books this week, unfortunately, guys. Next week there will be a nice amount of indie books, but unfortunately this week there are none. So we're right into the big two. There's only 3 DC books. The rest of this pile is all Marvel. First off, and if you didn't notice the annotation, yes, Superman 13, I was not charged for that extra issue. It was a boo-boo from the company, not from me. No money out of my pocket for it. So, anyway, I was gonna say something, mention about Superman 13. What my there was a big thing I wanted to say about Superman 13, and that's this: I give up, man. I'm done.
I knew there was gonna be.
I mean, come on. They're looking to make jokes of Clark now. Now Superman. This is spoilers, but believe me, it was on every single media bucket there is out there. Every single media site. Clark Kent, spoiler, quits the Daily Planet.
Oh yeah.
And now he's gonna go off into something else. So basically, this isn't the Superman I used to read anymore. This is a completely brand new character who's taking over the title. It's like Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, except they actually use Clark Kent's name in this. So, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to drop it or not. However, at the same time, I don't know if it'll be on the comic reviews anymore, because to be honest, it's just like every few months they're adding something else, something new to the whole Superman list. And a couple of people asked me about Wonder Woman, and I'll be honest with you guys, it's not gonna last. It's a match that's doomed from Yeah, it's a match that's doomed from the first issue they mentioned it in. It was interesting, but you know, not gonna last.
Alright, well, going into a much better book. We continue the adventures of Justice League Dark, issue number 13.
And lucky for you, you get a double dose next week, this Wednesday, the annual comes out, which is the only annual I bought.
Yeah, and this issue, wow, lots and lots of things happen, but I'm not going to give too much away because I'm going to say that for an in-depth review. So basically we start off with Black Orchid and Constantine, who are facing the Black Boris. I'm going to show you guys some of the artwork because
yeah, I'll give you guys some artwork.
Yeah, it's outstanding in this one.
Outstanding.
Outstanding. Outstanding, standing to man. Anyway, yeah. So they beat him by putting him in a. Oh.
Let me just give you some of Scott LaBelle. I believe it's Scott LaBelle's artwork, or is it Kenneth LaFord?
Yeah. Are you ready to laugh? They beat
Kenneth Rockford. I'm sorry.
And you want to laugh? They defeat Black Boris by putting him in a fairy prison. A fairy prison. I am dead serious. And he wants to...
A fairy prison?
Like, he wants the Book of Magics, and he refuses not to tell him. Just say, let me out. And he says, I don't think so. And, yeah.
Well, look at Dead Man.
Yeah, we head to Peru, where Zatanna and Dead Man fight...
oh my god, is that the thing from Lord of the Rings?
No.
Treebeard.
It's the Black Briar Thorn. And Dead Man goes...
in other words, Treebeard with a different name.
Yeah, and there's a man trapped inside of the tree, which Dead Man goes into and comes out of it.
It looks like Ganondorf.
And you know what the funny thing is?
Not Ganondorf, it looks like Gandalf.
Yeah. And now...
Why did I say Ganondorf? Oh.
And now, you want to hear a pun right here? This new house they're going into isn't the House of Mystery. It's the House of Secrets.
And that's also the title to an old comic book.
Right.
Bum.
And... I'm sure you guys remember this guy from Justice League Dark issue 0. If you remember Nick Necro, he's back. And boy, is he back with a vengeance. He just, you know, but before we get into that, Timothy is shown again where, what's her name? Madame Xanadu meets up with Dr. Xanadu. She meets up with Dr. Fisk and, technically, she defeats him, or I believe so. Oh, no, they fly away off somewhere, and yeah. So with Nick Necro, he just uses powers, and he just takes Dead Man and Zatanna down. And Constantine and Black Orchid come back, and Constantine's like saying, oh my god, you're the guy I encountered with, and they have an epic fight scene on this page. And he's like saying, I taught you so much, but my powers are better than yours, and yada yada yada. So, Zatanna, in order to save the team, takes up Nick Necro's offer, either go with him, or her team will die. So, technically, she didn't want to do it. So, they head off into the his house. She couldn't believe that, what's his name? The guy who betrayed him, oh, I can't remember his name. Like the doctor,
Strange?
Mm-mm.
Forget it, keep going.
Like doctor, yeah, like it's the doctor who betrayed them, basically. And, he just says that I hate to be ordered, but, you know, he's doing it for his wife. Just let her rest easy, and the ending doesn't look so good.
And you're gonna get what happens in next week's issue of the annual.
Yep. So I recommend you get the book because it leads into Justice League Dark Annual issue 0. You know. But yeah, really something else. Just can't remember the doctor's name. It just skips me for the moment. If I remember it, I'll interrupt. But yeah, really great issue, guys. Lots of things happen in issue 13, and can't wait for annual and the issues after that.
Lastly, from DC Comics is Red Lanterns 13. I will be buying Red Lanterns 13 through 16 because it connects with Rise of the Third Army. And you don't get to see the Third Army at all throughout this whole book in the beginning and middle. You get to see them all throughout the end. And this book at least takes up a little bit more of a, what do you call it, an action approach. You know, Atrocitus there's a new Lantern apparently. I haven't been reading Red Lantern, so for those of you who have been reading Red Lanterns, you know more about this than me. But yeah, there's a new Red Lantern, and it's still in its young stages, so Atrocitus can't give out it can't give new rings out.
Can you excuse me for a second?
But Atrocitus
It's bothering me.
reaches out, and he feels this great rage inside somebody. Him and Bleeze show up to the planet where the person is having her great rage, so to speak, and they bring justice to what has happened to her, and that's when the Third Army attacks. And not only do they attack the Red Lanterns, but they figure out a way to purge...
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Dr. Mist.
Thank you.
Sorry.
To purge the Red Lantern, the red, whatever it is on the inside of a Red Lantern out, and then convert the person into a Third Army person, and that's exactly what happens here. They rip the arm off with the ring. The ring no longer has an attachment to the body, and yeah, then the person's able to be taken over, and they can turn them into a Third Army. Also, a realization happens here, or the Atrocitus figures out that you can hurt them through their eyes, because that's like their only vulnerable part. And also, this is like the Borg. Also, because they're part of a collective, what one feels, they all feel. So that's very interesting, and that's definitely something I guess that's going to play out throughout this entire Rise of the Third Army, or this entire Third Army series. I don't know if it's going to still be called Rise of the Third Army by the time we're in issues 15 and 16, because they're already risen, but we'll see, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. This was a lot better. It ends with Atrocitus and Bleeze and the other Red Lantern, whose name I have no idea, because it's the human Red Lantern from where the story all began.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Third Army is still taking people, and actually the person who was feeling that great rage in the beginning of the book, yeah, she gets assimilated into the Third Army as well. And action-packed. This one was one of the best books out of the 4 this month. Green Lantern. Yeah, out of the 4 books, I actually did like the Rage of the Red Lantern. The Red Lantern's book. It was really good. The artwork's really, I don't want to say really good, it was pretty good. And finally, the Third Army is, you know, other than in Green Lantern Corps where they were attacked for the last few pages, this was actually a full-blown fight. And also we learned something about the Third Army. I leave it up to you guys. When it comes to Red Lanterns, like I said, I'm only here for the Rise of the Third Army, and then after that, you know what? With all the books I've been dropping lately, depending on that, what's to come with Red Lanterns, I might actually stick with the series. We'll see where it goes. That's about 3 months from now. We're going to be in the beginning of 2013 by the time this is done, so we'll see, because you never know. There'll be somewhere along the line where this will all attach up again, and I'll end up getting Red Lanterns anyway. Maybe the next story arc will be good, but I know that the first 2 story arcs were not too good for Red Lanterns. I actually dropped it in the middle of the first. And we're officially in Marvel. Wolverine Max issue 1. I decided to give the Max universe a try. Michael liked Punisher Max.
Oh, yes.
And there was a Nick Fury Max that went well.
It was?
Yeah, it went pretty well.
I mean, I'm not into, I don't know the Max universe.
I don't know.
I just know Punisher Max.
But let me explain to you guys. First of all, the Max universe, there is cursing. Believe me, Wolverine uses the F word more times than I wish to count in the first couple of pages. And there is explicit content. Alright, I'll tell you guys how I felt about it after we go through this. I would like to do an in-depth review of this book. I don't know if anybody called it yet on Dark Avenger Inc. I don't believe anybody did, but just in case they did, let's go through this a bit. Anyway, the book starts off where a plane has crashed in the middle of the ocean, and there's Wolverine, but he can't remember his name, he can't remember anything. And best scene in this entire book was when he tries to save this girl who then gets eaten by a shark, and then the shark comes back for Wolverine, and that's what happens to the shark. Now Wolverine's lost his legs in the plane crash, and here's where my first complaint comes in.
How does Fisk get so big?
I don't know. When it comes to the dreams or the flashbacks, I'm sorry, but this artwork has to be the most awful, god-awful artwork I've ever seen.
Oh my god, looks like Jonah Hex from All-Star West.
Look at that.
All-Star Western.
Yeah. So, I'm not a fan of the artwork from the flashbacks at all. And then Wolverine gets rescued. He can't remember his name, or he does. They call him, he calls himself, oh god, what's his name? What do they call him? John Grant.
Okay.
And he doesn't remember anything. He's the last survivor of the ship, the plane, and they put him down in a hospital to rest so he could tell them later on about what happened. And then we go back to another flashback with awful artwork. I'm sorry, I don't mean to criticize somebody's
Do you think maybe
artwork.
they wanted the flashback to be more...
I don't know, but I didn't enjoy the artwork. Wolverine wakes up and he escapes. He sneaks out of the hospital, finds a place to stay, has to pay triple, and basically he sees the news is on and they're actually looking for him, and he actually sees a clip of himself from the airport, and he's like, wait a minute, that isn't me. Not the me I thought I was anyway. My name isn't John Grant. I'm suddenly sure of it. My name is Logan. And then basically you have the entire SWAT out in front of his door, and the person whom he paid the extra money to for him to stay in this hotel room, you see him sneaking off, so it's his fault. Okay. I'm not really a fan of the artwork, or at least half of the artwork.
But the story looks good, though.
The story looks pretty good. I'm really not too much of a fan of the secondary artwork either. The story... There's really... I mean, yeah, it is the first issue, so you really can't complain about the first issue. So, with Marvel now coming, and the fact that I actually did end up keeping 2 out of the 3 other #1s that I got, I don't know if I'll be getting Wolverine Max #2 or the rest of the series. If it's a light week and Wolverine Max does come out, I might give issue 2 a chance. But if it's a heavy week, especially with Marvel now starting, you gotta pick and choose those books really carefully. And this book didn't make the impact I thought it needed for me to want to continue to read it. Will I come back? As I said, it all depends on if it's a light... This was a light week. Believe it or not, guys, this was a very light week. If it's a light week, I might come back and try issue 2. If it's not, then I'll probably not feel bad about missing it. But, I don't know. I know a lot of people were like, they weren't getting it. I remember when we did the live show, only 1 or 2 people said they were going to try Wolverine Max, and, I just don't see anything special with it, and it's a $3.99 book, so I leave it up to you guys to give it a try. But personally, I'm probably gonna pass up on issue 2, especially if it's a heavy week. If it's a light week, then why pass up on it,
Exactly.
But we'll see. Astonishing X-Men 55. I'm getting tired of the story because I've been reading this book now from issue 48. And we've been in this story now 48, 49, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is already an 8-part story. Even if it is split into 2 different chapters, I'm tired of it now. It's getting to the point where it's like, okay, Karma isn't the one doing it. She's being controlled by her sister. Her sister now has these nano-worms in the X-Men, so the X-Men have to do whatever she says or else she'll kill them, and she wants to take over Manipur.
That's like voodoo dolls, kind of.
No,
like
nothing like voodoo dolls. And
then,
like
controlling them.
I don't know. And then apparently Iceman is dead, or they believe he's dead. We all know he can't be dead because, hello, all new X-Men everywhere else. So how, it's probably... what do you call it? Pretend, they're faking it, because there's a fight that goes on between Gambit and Tiger, and apparently they were passing Morse code between themselves and somebody else, whom I'm going to spoil here, that being Wolverine. In the background, the X-Men leave, and Wolverine's still sporting the suit and the eye patch, and I love how Tiger's like, you realize you don't need to wear any of that anymore. We know exactly who you are now. He's like, I like dressing like this. So he likes the eye patch and stuff.
To each his own.
And then we get these fake X-Men that show up out of nowhere. They're all humans with enhanced suits and stuff. And then the real X-Men fight the fake X-Men. And,
wow.
Yeah. Doesn't really go too well for the fake X-Men. And then Tiger looks to arrest the real X-Men. But they get... the car gets hijacked by what we think are terrorists at the time. Turns out they work for other people, and it turns out it's people that work for Karma's dad, and this is what Karma's sister wanted all along, because she wanted to find the father to kill him, and in the end that's exactly what we're left off to believe. And to be concluded, thank you God, this is the last time we'll be seeing this story arc, and then I look forward to seeing what the next story is going to be. Hopefully it has nothing to do with this one. So I left out a bunch of things here and there because I do feel that, especially for a $3.99 book, Astonishing X-Men is a good read. And there was that little break in the story where it was Karma, then Karma disappeared, and then there was the marriage of John Philippe and his boyfriend, whose name skips my mind at the moment, but he's not in the book, so
he's just that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That'll work.
Yeah. So that was a nice break in the story, but then we just jump right back into the exact same fiddle, that exact same tune, except now it's not really Karma. Karma's under the control of her sister. And yeah, and actually Karma's sister wants the X-Men to stop all transportation in and out of Manipur, and then Wolverine says there's a reason why. It has to be because she's looking for somebody, and that was why. It was her father that she was looking for. If you haven't been reading Astonishing X-Men, let me be quite honest with you. I would definitely say get the 50th issue to get the wedding and everything. You know, it was a nice issue. It was a calm issue. It pretty much stands alone with little hints about what happened before, and it leads into what's happening now. But for the most part, Astonishing X-Men, I'd say if you haven't been reading since issue 48, when Wolverine and his team took over, and now basically the only X-Men team left is the Wolverine side, so that's why it's going to continue in Astonishing. If Astonishing continues after the next issue, which I believe it is, I'd say skip this story arc if you haven't been reading it. Wait for it to come out in trade, and then wait for issue 57 if there's an issue 57, because Astonishing X-Men sometimes takes breaks, like month-long breaks, where it's like 4 and 5 months before we see the next story arc, and then there are other times where it's like the next month is the next story arc. So it all depends with Astonishing X-Men. Up to you guys what you want to do with that. Wolverine 315. I have 4 minutes left. This will be the last video, and then we go into the other books in the next part. Did exactly what I figured it was going to do. It gave more of a flashback. It added more to the background story where Wolverine actually remembers, Logan remembers that he couldn't kill the dreaming maiden, and he takes her away instead. And where this story starts off, it's him versus Murderous Lion, who's part of the Covenant. And the whole beginning of the book is basically Wolverine versus Lion, and it turns out that, oh God, why does her name escape me? I hate when names escape me. Names are just not...
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's like you know the name.
Elsa Bloodstone is already there, but she was already taken out by Lion. He actually admits here throughout all of his mind bubbles that because of what happened with Dr. Rot, yet another connection with the Dr. Rot story arc, he doesn't remember some of his techniques and learnings throughout his lifetime because basically Dr. Rot chopped it out of his brain. So, yeah, after a long fight, Wolverine decides to go into his animal side, and he takes out Lion, and apparently he doesn't really die because they actually make mention of it right here where it's like, you Covenant people don't stay dead long, and he's like, no. So Wolverine decides to work with Elsa anyway, and he's going to try to convince her that it's not, that the Dreaming Maiden shouldn't be killed because he believes her father had a heart and she should also. And Melita is in the library looking up information on the Covenant. And we then jump directly back to Wolverine and Elsa, and this is where they find out that the Dreaming Maiden is apparently a statue at this time. We don't know why. And then Wolverine has the flashback, which is where instead of killing her, he chose to take her away.
Yeah, another issue where Wolverine has flashbacks.
Wolverine is just a flashback king, and you know, once again...
And the art is good?
Yeah, oh yeah, the artwork's pretty good.
Just gonna mention
the artwork's pretty good. And by the way, the flashback, once again, is only 2 pages. That's it. So I guess in each issue we get a little bit more to the past puzzle. And then finally Melita finds something, thanks to Vanessa's help, about the Covenant. And I love how she's like, the maiden whose dream would summon, and then she stops talking and says, "Are you kidding?" Meaning, you're not going to find out what it is until probably the next issue, maybe the issue after that. So Wolverine is trying to convince Elsa not to kill or destroy the Dream Maiden, and then right before Melita does it, not Melita, oh God, why did I do that? Because now I have her name. Elsa, thank you, does it. Turns out another one of the Covenant shows up, and it's Wolverine and Elsa versus that person. This person's name was Chambers, and yeah, he makes quick work of both Wolverine and Elsa, and it's to be continued right there. I know a lot of people aren't reading Wolverine, that's why it's a lot easier for me to spoil books like this and Astonishing X-Men, where I know a lot of people really aren't reading it at this time. Which I don't know why, because to be quite honest, this story arc of Wolverine is pretty good, and this story arc started off really good. However, when it gets to the 8th issue, it's kind of time to wrap it up. But this is the final story arc of Wolverine before we go and reboot him to Savage Wolverine, which I'm hoping won't be as bad as they're making it sound. But then again, you know, Wolverine is basically you get what you see. And I didn't like what we were hearing, like especially what they were saying. I believe Stephen was saying about the artist who looks for excuses to draw women in bikinis.
Oh yeah,
that's not going to be fun to look at all. But yeah, I'm in it for the Wolverine, not for the bikini people. If I was in it for the bikini people, I'd go out and buy a bikini model magazine. Of course not. But Wolverine 315 is pretty good. You have to go back, as I said, an issue to have the beginning of the story arc. It's a bi-weekly series. It's going to end, I believe, in another 2 months, and then it's starting up again in January. Looks really good. It's a $3.99 book, has your free digital download code inside. I think it's a pretty good series, and I'd say it's up to you guys, but I would definitely say check it out. And with that, we have about 8 seconds before this alarm goes off, so very good. We'll go into a second part. Definitely not going to go into a third. There's not that many books left.
I just had to play it.
Thank you.
Timer down.
So guys, come back, and we're going to get into some big, the heavy hitter books, some endings, setting up for new beginnings, and a #1 for a miniseries that Michael is very happy about this week.
Oh yeah.
See you guys in the next part. Don't miss out.